Hi, I'm Sharmaine. Welcome to Curiosity Over Fear, where we have the difficult conversations about overcoming fear with courage and curiosity. So, whether you're looking to change something with your career or just everyday life, I invite you to join me on this journey to be less fearful and more daring. Something happened recently in my family that really made me sit down and reflect. I won't go into details out of respect for everyone involved, but what I will say is my family had a rare moment of truth. A moment where someone in my family finally said what a lot of us had been carrying quietly for years. And when I say family, I mean big Filipino family, 30 plus first cousins and 11 aunties and uncles, just one side of my family. The things we don't talk about in our families, especially in big immigrant families, where image, pride, and silence can be louder than honesty. We often prioritize surface level success like degrees, careers, cars. We take pride in being nurses and giving back and appearing put together. But when it comes to emotional stuff, the hard conversations, the things that happened when we were younger, that's where it gets quiet. And here's what I've noticed. In some families, we mistake silence for peace. We think if we don't talk about it, it didn't happen or that everything's okay, at least for the time being. But that doesn't make the pain go away, it just buries it. And it always finds a way to resurface, whether it's in our bodies, in our relationships, or how we respond to our own kids. I think what got me the most was realizing how often emotional pain often gets dismissed, especially if it threatens the family image. When someone in the family finally speaks their truth, especially if it's about being hurt, violated, or shamed, the response is often, "Oh, you're making a big deal about that," or "We don't want to create chaos," or "We don't want to cause war," or "She's just doing that for attention." And yet, we say we value family, right? We say we want to protect each other, but protect who exactly? This isn't just a personal story, it's a pattern in many marginalized communities. There's a deep lack of emotional literacy, generational trauma passed down like heirlooms, the unspoken rule that strength means silence and that therapy, emotions, or mental health are somehow signs of weakness. So, July is Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. So, I just want to say this plainly. If we don't talk about these silent wounds, they don't go away, they just get passed down. Asian cultures often treat mental health like a traitor or a family honor. Expressing that mental or emotional distress is seen as weakening the family image or marriage prospects. Mental health usually reflects poor lineage. In South Asian immigrant families, 61% of women say their mental health worsened after marriage, often due to multi generational household dynamics, and 46% lack access to culturally competent providers who understand mother in law pressures and traditional roles. AAPI, or Asian American and Pacific Islander communities, carry historical trauma from the Japanese internment camps to the Cambodian genocide and Vietnam War. That alters brain chemistry and even DNA. This trauma can manifest as higher rates of depression, PTSD, and anxiety in later generations. Just look at the next generation. Asian Americans born in the US are 2.5 times more likely to express severe distress of their childhoods held with four or more adverse childhood experiences or ACEs. So, ACEs are physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, physical neglect, emotional neglect, witnessing domestic violence, household substance abuse, household mental illness, parental separation or divorce, or having an incarcerated household member. So the thing is, the more ACEs someone has, the higher their risk for issues like depression, anxiety, PTSD, addiction, chronic illness, and even early death. So, an indicator of four or more ACEs is a major risk marker. It is associated with 2 to 3 times greater likelihood of suicide attempts, substance abuse, and serious mental illness. And in many minority families, especially in immigrant or marginalized families, there's pressures to minimize or ignore these experiences as, like, oh, yeah, that's just how it was. But these unspoken traumas often get passed down emotionally, culturally, and even biologically, especially when healing or acknowledgement never happens. Mental health isn't just a personal issue, it's a family issue. In many cultures, showing pain brings shame on everyone. Descendants of historical trauma, whether from slavery or boarding schools, carry those wounds in their bodies and relationships today. These facts paint a vivid picture of how trauma and toxic expectations aren't just background noise. They're the foundation for intergenerational suffering. So, with all that, what do we do with that? When trauma runs deep, and when silence has been inherited, and when the pain isn't just yours, but woven into your bloodline, how do you begin to heal? That question has been sitting with me. And the answer that shows up for me is how we take care of ourselves and show up for ourselves. Basically, our self care, to show ourselves that we love ourselves enough that we don't want to keep making the same mistakes and to try to do something different. Sometimes it's setting a boundary no one in your family understands. Sometimes it's choosing to believe the cousin who was shamed into silence. Sometimes it's being the first person to say, hey, this hurt me and I'm not going to pretend it didn't. And maybe, just maybe, it's also giving yourself the permission to be the cycle breaker even when it's uncomfortable. So I want to leave you with a few questions to reflect on, not to shame or blame you or anyone, but to invite awareness, because that's where healing starts. Not with being perfect, not with trying to fix, but just plain awareness. What does emotional self-care look like in a family that doesn't do emotions? What would it look like if we choose curiosity instead of judgment or silence? Can we love our families deeply and still acknowledge the harm that the silence has caused? What does my family never talk about? And what has that silence cost me or others? What might shift if I brought a little more truth gently into these conversations? If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Connect with me on social media at Curiosity Over Fear, and if you think someone else could benefit from this episode, feel free to share it. And don't forget to subscribe to Curiosity Over Fear so you never miss an episode. Your support helps the podcast grow and reach more people who, like you, are choosing curiosity over fear. Remember, the choice is always ours, fear or curiosity. I hope you'll choose curiosity today and every day. Stay curious, stay courageous, and always ask yourself, what would be possible if you led with courage and curiosity? If you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure to leave me a review so that I can send you a free Curiosity Over Fear sticker. Then, after writing the review, claim your free gift by taking a screenshot and sending it to me via direct message on Instagram at Curiosity Over Fear. Thank you for joining me this week on Curiosity Over Fear. If you haven't already, subscribe so you can get a reminder to tune in every other Thursday for new episodes. And remember, always ask yourself, what would be possible if you led with courage and curiosity?